I don't often think about them photographically, but when I'm working a wetland project, muskrats almost always show up. Perhaps when we think about chance encounters in the wild, our minds whip up images of grandeur that wouldn't include the muskrat. But these busybodies of the marsh, with their numbers, play an important role in wetland ecology. This cattail marsh would not be the same without these tireless rodents crisscrossing the shallows while they go about the business of living. On a gorgeous, highly anticipated early spring evening, these wetlands are alive. But that's no muskrat. It's a beaver, and he's building a scent mound well downstream from the lodge. And he's not alone. As a wood duck, drake, and hen swim by, the drake grabs a tuber, and the hen delightfully accepts it. This is a good place. Inviting shallows with plenty of food. This muskrat thinks so too. Although the vast majority of these wetlands are open, some ice lingers here and there, but it's melted enough to release some trapped goodies that still appeal to this muskrat. Soon enough, it's on to bigger and better things. A quick dive will yield more tasties. But don't stay in one place too long. Looks like the tundra swans in the background are ready for the next leg of their northward journey. Although the muskrat is a rodent, it's more of a big meadow vole rather than a rat, as its name might suggest. By the time the next morning arrived, the calm, warm spring evening was replaced by windy, cold air and gray skies. The swans are gone, but the ducks, geese, and others are still here. It's business as usual for this muskrat as it hops onto a clump of vegetation that it could very well have put together itself after the ice formed late last year. When enough vegetation and mud is pushed up through an access hole in the ice, a mound is formed. And there's one in the foreground, where the muskrat would feed underneath, hidden from predators. But you can't always see these feeding mounds after they get covered by snow. And on rare occasions, when I happen upon one, I'll stand quietly and listen to the muskrat chewing on plants beneath the snow. When I take a step closer, they hear me, and a moment of silence is followed by a sudden plop into the water. These feeding mounds, often called push-ups, serve the muskrats well, because predators are never far away. So a muskrat feeding under the ice, some distance from the main lodge, has to have access to air and a place to hide while it eats. Because someone is usually watching. And muskrats are often wandering around, looking for new feeding locations and territories in and around a wetland. Being spotted away from the safety of the water reduces the muskrat's chances of survival significantly. To make a long story short, there are plenty of predators around that would welcome a meal of muskrat, day and night. As the muskrat's feeding clump sinks away, it's time to move. That's better. A little more stable, with more edibles. With a layer of dense, warm underfur, covered by a nearly waterproof overcoat, the muskrat deals with the cold and wind quite well. But when a mallard hen decides to cozy up on the same spot, the muskrat responds with a somewhat grumpy-looking sneer and squeal. It appears that sharing this feeding site does not sit well for the antisocial muskrat. A western grebe nesting colony. Crowded, to say the least. If you tend to be a bit grumpy and antisocial, why would you be swimming into this? For food, of course. And what do western grebes build their nests with? Cattails. A muskrat's favorite. So it sits up on the nest in progress, chewing away. The grebe pair might have to put more effort into this nest if they decide to keep it, because the muskrat could literally carry it away in pieces to use on its house or feeding platforms. As it turns out, these floating collections of goodies can be quite popular. Back in Wisconsin, this muskrat finds just what it was looking for. Food and quiet. Hard to shed that antisocial attitude, though. But it works for the muskrat. Good use of an old muskrat house. As spring does its best to maintain a stronghold, Old Man Winter takes one final gasp. Buffleheads, heavy into courtship, work with what nature gives them. A pair of muskrats, probably part of a family group, deal with the conditions like they always do, by eating. but warmer weather eventually prevails, where lush green growth fuels the muskrat's lifestyle, as well as many others. In these shallows, black terns utilize the floating mats of spike rush to build their nests. They also take advantage of the muskrat's handiwork for other necessities. Muskrats, hands down, cherish the cattails. They use every part of it, including the roots, to build their houses and feeding platforms, as well as eating them. So here, the muskrats and black terns share the wetlands, an association that appears more worrisome for the terns. After all, muskrats are not 100% vegetarian. A small part of the diet could include the eggs or hatchlings within a tern nest. So tensions can erupt at any moment. And all it might take is something as simple as crossing paths. For now, this muskrat is in the clear. That didn't take long, as the muskrat lunges at the attacking black tern. It can't swim out of there fast enough. That explains it. The muskrat was right on top the tern's nest. Coincidence or deliberate? Whatever the case, an approaching summer storm is set to put a hold on this day's activities. Bright and early the next morning, The muskrat sails through the rushes, where watchful eyes toggle between alertness and sleepiness. The muskrat takes a low-profile swimming approach as it passes a nesting tern. But there's nothing to worry about here, as a playful pied-billed grebe makes a splash. The muskrat finds what it was searching for. The best tasting spike rushes in the marsh. These will be perfect for eating and lining a nest. It's the height of the breeding season, so these muskrats could be on their second or even third baby batch of the year. It's so nice outside these days that the muskrats are in an exposed nest atop one of their feeding houses. Of course, they're usually born in the main house, sheltered better from the elements and predators. She may very well move them around, more than we know. But Mother Muskrat takes care of them the same, whether they are inside or out. In the muskrat's fast-paced life, these babies must grow up quickly and be ready to live on their own in a month. Because while they're still nursing, their mother will be courting and mating in preparation for their next litter. These mating muskrats, caught up in the excitement of courtship, throw caution to the wind as they play to an audience of bald eagles nesting on the edge of the marsh. Fortunately for the muskrats, the eagles are already eating. But this Canada goose family still is taking no chances. The weaned youngsters, shushed away by their mother to make room for the new babies, can remain in their mother's territory for up to a year. Not being noticed by the terns is often not an option for the muskrat. So it hurries along as it goes about its chores. You can never tell when the turns might turn on you. As the riled black terns settle down and get back to nesting, other muskrats, some miles away, take advantage of a spacious beaver lodge for comfort and safety while eating and resting. Not entirely unusual for other animals to use such a structure that's full of hiding places. Of course, being allowed to share this huge palace depends on the landlord's tolerance. Perhaps exercising caution, as well as the art of being discreet, works for both the muskrats and the beavers. If the beavers are happy, the muskrats are too. Perhaps the muskrats even pay a little rent by hauling in vegetation and mud to use for their needs within the lodge, inadvertently helping somewhat to shore it up. As colder weather grips these wetlands, most muskrats prepare their houses and bank burrows to better withstand the rigors of winter. This muskrat, doing just that, is spotted by a great egret. The curious egret can't help but take a closer look. But the muskrat isn't there. Although a great blue heron would not hesitate to make a meal of muskrat, this great egret is a bit more reserved. This tenacious little rodent pops up right in front of the egret. Not interested anymore. As the beavers work to build up their winter cache, the muskrats have no problem helping themselves to it. An added bonus for getting through the winter, along with the added warmth within the lodge, provided by the beavers. As autumn advances into winter, many muskrats will be on the move, seeking out new food sources and territories, because their wetland homes have become overcrowded. As long as they can keep expanding into new areas and populate wetlands, their positive impact on many other forms of wildlife will continue. So these busybodies of the marsh should be around for a long time.